What's going on, my powerlifting people? In this video today, I'm going to provide some knowledge to the powerlifting coaches out there as far as what services to provide, what services not to provide, and how much to charge for those services. So let's get right into the video. Alrighty, so this video right here is based on a question that was submitted by a subscriber, and they had a number of questions in the one question that they submitted, basically asking like how to obtain more clients, how much to charge for various services. Is it okay to just provide like online coaching services, not do any meet day handling? So we're going to kind of work these questions in reverse because I think it's better that way. And we're going to take the how to attain more clients and kind of throw that off because I think that's more a broad question and it can be a lot more in-depth and probably its own separate video, versus the other things are more detailed, like specific questions, and we can go through them one by one. So let's get into the first one. So getting into the first question, they're asking basically, can they provide only coaching services or only programming services and not do any extra stuff as far as meet day handling or even things like nutrition, consultations for other coaches, technique analysis, all those kind of things? And my answer obviously is yes. You should be providing the services that, one, you have experience and knowledge in, and two, that you want to provide. So there's a lot of different options as a powerlifting coach to bring in revenue. Some of the ones I had mentioned, you can do technique analysis for an athlete. You can do a coaching consultation for a coach that's up and coming. You can do meet day handling. You can even do in-person coaching, certain sessions depending on if the gym allows it and if the client is actually in the same city as you. And you can travel not only for local meets for meet day handling, but also like national, international events. And you can even expand beyond the typical powerlifting programming depending on what you have experience in. For example, things like nutrition, sports psychology, and physical therapy. So I know it could be a little bit difficult deciding what you should offer when there's all these different options out there. So that's why I want you to bring it down to those two things. What do you have experience or knowledge in? And two, what do you actually want to provide? So you may have things that you have experience and knowledge in. So let's say you have experience in technique analysis, but maybe you don't want to provide it. Maybe it's too much effort to just do like a one-off $50 technique analysis and having to communicate with someone just for 1 week and provide this information and never see them again. So you might say, okay, it's not enough value for you to provide that service, even though you have knowledge in that area. And on the flip side, you don't want to provide a service that you don't have knowledge in. You don't want to be providing nutrition coaching when you're not a dietitian or nutrition or something like that, and then just providing lackluster services to people just to bring in more money. So on average, for a typical powerlifting coach, especially when they're first getting started, it's going to be some kind of online powerlifting coaching. So for example, for us, the strength guys, we have two main options based mostly on how much communication you want with your coach. So we have a program design only option, which they're talking with their coach on a month-to-month basis. So we may send out a 4 to 5 week training block and they go do those 4 or 5 weeks on their own, make the adjustments on their own, especially for people who are self-sufficient. This is very good for them. And then they check in at the end of the month. And then we have the program design and coaching option for people that want to communicate with their coach on a weekly basis. Someone who needs more feedback, needs more technique analysis on a weekly basis. Maybe they have a more varied structure to their week with work and everything else, and so they may need to switch their programming more on a week-to-week basis based on what's going on. They can go for more of that program design and coaching option. So those are the two main options that we provide, and so that you may want to be using for your coaching services. So now let's get into the second question, is about whether it's okay to not do meet day handling, especially at local meets where you may be close to your client. And so this is connected to that first question, is what services are you providing? So you should be upfront in what services you're providing and what's included in those services. So oftentimes when you're providing online powerlifting coaching, it's just for the programming and then the coaching aspect of it. So you're sending out the program to the athlete, you're communicating with them on a weekly or monthly or whatever basis, and then you're sending out a next block and so on and so forth. The coaching service ends there. So anything extra should be that. It should be extra. You can tell them, hey, I don't provide these services. I don't have the time or money to go to the local meet to handle you, or it's going to be an additional service if you want to provide that, which also means an additional cost. So they may be paying, let's say, $150 a month for the program design that you're providing them, but that doesn't include you driving to wherever the meet is, maybe getting a hotel room, paying a coaching fee, parking fee, handling them for 4 to 6 hours and driving back. That should be a separate fee. You have to say, hey, this is what I charge for meet day handling, $100, $200, whatever it is. You want to be upfront with that. So if you want to provide it, you can provide it as a separate service, which a lot of coaches do, or you can just tell them, hey, that's not a service I provide, and then you have to work on a different solution for them. And it's good to have a separate solution anyways, because there may be athletes that you have that are in different states or different countries, which you cannot travel and handle them at the meets. So for example, one main thing is you want to provide a game plan to them. So for us at the Strength Guys, we have our meet strategy template, and we provide a game plan for all our athletes as far as what to do for how many warm-ups, what the warm-up weight should be, how many reps for each of the warm-ups, and then the attempts. Sometimes an option like an A and B option for a second attempt, sometimes even an A, B, and C option for the third attempt, so they can make adjustments on the day of based on how they're feeling. But at least they have a game plan going in of what they should be capable of based on the training they've been doing going into that competition. On top of that, you can maybe help them find someone that can handle them at that competition. So if it's a local competition, maybe you have a friend or another coach you know that can go and help them either for free, or maybe they charge as well. But if you're not able to go, at least they can pay someone else to be there. And at high level meets like nationals or worlds, or even like the Arnold Sports Festival, a lot of high level coaches are going there to handle. So again, you can find people and be able to provide that service as far as the other coach handling your athlete, so that your athlete has someone there that can help them along the way and make sure that they're successful on the day. There's a lot of pros and cons to whether you should go to the meet or you shouldn't go to the meet. And one of the downsides, one of the cons, is that if you don't go to the meet and then the athlete doesn't have anyone there, they may try and do things on their own, and if they're not experienced, they may screw up. So then the meet day performance will not be accurately depicting how the training went. So the training cycle may be going very well, and let's say they're projected to hit a 5 kilo squat PR, 2.5 kilo bench PR, and a 7.5 kilo deadlift PR, but then something happens on meet day, they don't warm up properly, maybe they don't know kilogram plates and they do the wrong warm-up weight and they screw up the meet, and let's say they don't hit any PR. So now it looks like the training cycle was not effective, and so now it also looks like your coaching is not effective. And so then they may say, okay, well, this isn't working for me, maybe I need to find another solution, and they'll switch to another coach thinking that that coach's programming is going to get them to where they need to get, where actually your programming was getting them there. It's just that last bit that screwed up. So it's vital that, you know, the peak goes properly, that the person tapers properly going into the meet, and that the meet is successful to properly depict how the training cycle went, whether good or bad. And so sometimes that's the downside. If you're not there and they have nobody there and it can go bad, then it can lead to a bad performance and making it look like the training was bad and making it look like your coaching is bad. So for myself, oftentimes I try and go to the meets or try and set someone up to handle my lifters at the meets to make sure they have a successful meet and it truly depicts how the training cycle went. All right, and our final question is going to be how much you should be charging as a powerlifting coach. And this is a pretty big topic as well, and there's different marketing aspects to this as well, as far as what number you pick, like, you know, $99.99 versus $100. But in general, it can come down to a few different variables that can decide what you should be charging. So a few of these variables include what is your experience level or what accomplishments you've had, what is your supply and demand, what are your competitors charging, and then what's the cost of living of the market that you're trying to reach. So when it comes to experience or accomplishments, if you are less experienced, if you're a brand new coach and you don't have a lot of experience, maybe you just have a degree or a certification, and maybe you don't have a lot of accomplishments, you don't have like a national champion or someone who's broken a world record before, then you're probably gonna have to charge less because people are not gonna see you as high level of a coach because you don't have the experience and accomplishments to show for it. And so for them to take on that risk of going to a new coach, then they would probably wanna pay less. Whereas if you're someone who's very experienced, you have 10, 15, 20 years in the sport, you have degrees, you have certifications, you have lots of accomplishments where you've had multiple national world champions and national and world record breakers, then you're a top person in the industry. You've been around for a long time, you've accomplished things with many different athletes at different levels and everything like that. And so you should be able to charge more because people can know, if I go with this person, they have a lot of experience and they can figure out the solution to my problem because they've probably dealt with that problem many times before. So when it comes to supply and demand, it depends on what you have as far as what you can provide. For example, when it comes to the supply side, you have to see, are you doing this as a part-time gig? You have a full-time job. Maybe you can only do 5 or 6 hours on a weekend. And so maybe you have to take on less athletes and maybe charge more because you want to make money for the small amount of athletes that you have. Or maybe you want to do this as a full-time gig and you could take on 40 athletes. And so if you're taking on 40 athletes, you have a lot of supply to fill in. And so maybe you want to charge less to get more people in there and hit your cap of 40, and you have time to communicate with all 40 because it's in your normal 9-to-5 job. And then the same thing with demand. Again, if you're a beginner powerlifting coach, you don't have a lot of experience, or maybe you're not a big time athlete, you don't have a lot of followers or anything like that, then your demand may be low. And so then if no one's coming to you, if your demand is low and your supply is high, then again, you may have to charge less to entice people to come to you because they'll be like, okay, well, I can pay 120 here versus going to a bigger coach and paying 220 there. So it might be worth it to them to come to you. And also, if you have a lot of space, if you have 30 out of your 40 spots open, then they can get more attention for you when they first get started. Whereas if they go to someone and they're number 40 out of 40, then they may not get as much attention. And then the same thing if you are in high demand, if you're a high level coach, you're also a high level athlete and everyone wants to work with you, they want to come to you for all the secrets and accomplishments and everything that you've done with yourself and with other athletes, then you can probably charge more. Because if someone wants to come to you, it has to be, worth it for you to take that person on, because you may have 40 spots, but you may have 400 people trying to come and take those 40 spots. So you want to charge more to weed out the people who maybe don't want to pay as much and people who maybe aren't as dedicated, and take on the clients that you do want, as far as people that won't be problem clients, people who actually follow the program, and people who are willing to pay for your time and your knowledge. And then a couple of the other factors that are somewhat connected is, what are your competitors charging, and then what's the cost of living. So if you're coaching in an area, let's say you're focusing more on within a country where the cost of living is high, then you may be able to charge more. People are having a higher salary and they're naturally paying higher for other things. Like here in the US, especially like I live in Miami where the cost of living is very high, people might be willing to pay more. Like a personal trainer or gym may be able to charge $100 an hour because the cost of living is high, the salaries are here high, and it's expected to pay more. Versus if you live in a city or a country where the cost of living is lower, the salaries are much lower, and people just don't have as much money to spend on discretionary items, then you may have to charge less. In certain countries, maybe people are only paying $30 an hour for the same personal training at a commercial gym that in Miami people are paying $100 an hour. So the same thing, you may be living in an area for online powerlifting coaching, you have to charge $100 a month or $120 a month. Whereas here in the US, a lot of people are paying, $150 to $200 and sometimes even above $200 a month. And people are still paying for these coaches because they're making enough money. They have that discretionary money to spend on something like online powerlifting coaching. And then if you're trying to reach the entire international scene and reach all these different countries and all these different regions, you may have to find a little bit of middle ground, because in certain countries maybe some people are making more and they can afford it even if the cost of living is lower there, and some people may be living somewhere where there is a lot of money, like let's say in the US, but maybe they don't make as much, maybe they're a high school or a college student and they can't pay as much. So you may have to work a middle ground there, or have different discounts based on college students, or maybe some kind of like scholarship program where you're giving discounts to certain people based on what their needs are. And then it's good to see what the layout of what everyone else is charging. If everyone else is charging $150 and you're charging $300, well then a customer is going to go see and say, why should I be paying 2 times the price? Is it actually 2 times the value? Some people may just see $300 and just go away immediately, and some people may want to look into it more. What is this person providing? What kind of experience or knowledge do they have that should be worth 2 times what everyone else is charging? On the flip side, if everyone else is charging $200 and you're charging $80 or $100, it may be red flag. Why is this person charging so little? Do they not value themselves? Are they not good enough? Are they going to give me, a crappy program or just a template? And that's why they're charging less, to just get out as many templates as possible. So you have to kind of see what the market is like. What are the other top coaches or coaching companies doing as far as the different services? And then what are your services? How similar are they to theirs? And so where can you place yours within that range? Maybe you want to be a little bit above average if you're more experienced in high demand. Maybe you want to be a little bit below average if you're a beginner. And so you have to play with that a little bit. For myself, when I got started with my powerlifting coaching, as I've told in a number of my videos on Instagram and everything like that, is I started for free because I wasn't a top level lifter. I didn't have a lot of experience. My degree is in mechanical engineering, so I don't have a degree in the exercise science space. And so I wanted to take on people and be able to start building experience, start gaining knowledge, start getting accomplishments, testimonials, and everything like that. So I started off for free and then slowly built it up from there. Went to like, $5 a week, went to $10 a week, $20 a week, so on and so forth. And then I eventually switched over to the Strength Guys and went with the Strength Guys pricing, which you can see on our website, and also that's increasing over time naturally with prices of competitors and everything else going up. So for me, I started out for free and worked my way up as I gained more experience, gained more accomplishments, and gained more demand. And if you have any thoughts or questions when it comes to these topics, you can drop those below. Let me know if you're a powerlifting coach. Do you do local meet handling included in your powerlifting coaching, or you do it as a separate service where you person has to charge more, or do you just not provide it at all? And if you have any other questions when it comes to powerlifting coaching, you can drop those below and I can include those in a future video. Like this video, I do take on subscriber questions and turn the video to help you all out. So if you like this video, be sure to drop a question for a future video. Be sure to like this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.